Hello and welcome to the Secret Vibe Show. You're listening to your host, Valerie A. Campbell. Come in, come in, come in. I feel like saying it's been 90 days since my last confession, but I guess really what I'm saying, it feels like forever that I've not created an episode. But there is a reason for that. So before I explain, I would love for you to just get yourself settled. And I thank my loyal listeners who always listen to my show. For the newcomers, you're in for a treat. And welcome once again to the Secret Vibe Show. Okay, so now that you've all settled, wherever you are, if you're in the garden, if you're in your car, if you're in the kitchen, cooking up a storm, welcome to the Secret Vibe Show. So Vibe is an acronym for vision, intention, belief, and expectation. And it's all about alignment, aligning your vision with your intention, with your expectation. And of course, I don't want to miss out beliefs. I kind of got the order mixed up there. Vision, intention, belief, and expectation. And it's all about alignment. So to get you straight away in that mode of being it, to be it, to get into the alignment of that, I always ask this question. It's a very deliberate question, and I want you to ask it of yourselves. What do I want? Because more often than not, we are focused on what we do not want. We're focused in a mode of complaint, which gives confusing messages to this universe around us and its spiritual laws that God has put in place. We want to be clear. We want to be vibrating in alignment with our desire. So ask of yourselves right now, hand on heart, what do I want? And sometimes that can be quite a challenging question. Like, seriously, when did you actually sit yourself down, grab a sheet of paper, at the top of the sheet of paper, write, what do I want? What would you write on it? I challenge you to do that exercise later or now, if it's possible. And you might actually find it, a little challenging to do that. So, without further ado, let's get into today's podcast today. I want to entitle it The Prayer Code, and it's called Speaking Life. It's about speaking life through the TIND lens. Now, when I say TIND, I'm spelling it TIND. It stands for There Is No Difference. And for any of you that have read my second book called The Difference, you'll understand that TIND was born out of a spiritual revelation that I received in my 20s, where I heard a voice, spiritual, as if coming from within and without me, that declared there is no difference. And you might be thinking, well, there is no difference between what exactly? Well, we'll get into that a little bit later. So my second question to you is, well, have you ever paused to ask yourself, what does my cup look like? Not the cup that you drink from, but the symbolic one. The vessel that holds your beliefs, your intentions, and your expectations. The one that holds your vision, the one that holds your vibe. Is it brimming with faith? Is it brimming with hope? Is it brimming with clarity? Hence my first question. What do I want? Or is it filled with doubt, fear, and confusion? You see, when we look at life through the lens of TIND, that there is no difference, we understand that there is no difference between the spiritual and the physical. Why do I say that? Because everything that was created Look around you. I don't care where you are, if you're in the kitchen, you're in your car. Look at everything around you. Everything was first imagined before it became physical. Did you know that? Of course you knew that. In fact, there was an experiment done where some athletes were hooked up to this machine and they were asked to imagine they were running a race. And what they found is that the same muscles ignited in those athletes as if they were running the race for real. So what is real? I believe the real is the imagination. And what we see on the outside is the manifestation of what we have in our imagination. So there is no difference between the spiritual and the physical, the inner and the outer. Everything begins with a thought, an intention, a belief even, and a prayer. So, as I said, this episode is called The Prayer Code. I really want to break this down, what prayer is, because often we think of prayer as this very lofty way of speaking and just internalizing things. But prayer is real when done in the correct way and when done from a place of alignment. So your inner world gives rise to your outer experiences, and prayer is the sacred dialogue that bridges the two. But the thing is, prayer, it is often misunderstood. For many, it has become a desperate plea or a repetitive ritual rather than an act of divine co-creation. And so real prayer from the perspective of TIND, there is no difference, it's not about begging. It is declaring, embodying, and aligning with the truth of what already is. Isaiah 65:24 reads, "Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear." And the thing is, God is not deaf to your needs. The truth is, your answer already exists. The question is, are you aligning with it? Have you ever paused to ask yourself, what does my cup look like? And yes, it's not a superficial question, nor is it rhetorical. It is spiritual. So this question lies at the heart of intentional prayer. Your cup is your vision, your desire, your intended manifestation. And knowing what it looks like, knowing what you've been indoctrinated with, knowing what you're consciously thinking, knowing what it looks like is essential, because you cannot receive what you cannot see. So let's look at prayer through the lens of TIND. So prayer is often viewed as an act of supplication, a plea to a distant God. But through the lens of TIND, we understand, and TIND also translates to there is no distance between you and what you desire, except for alignment. And the thing is, God is actually closer to you than your skin. And so through this perspective, prayer is far more than words. It's an alignment. It's the alignment that gives that vibration. So you are not praying for something to happen. You are praying from the end in mind. In other words, you are acknowledging it is already done. In fact, Romans 4:17 says, "Speak things as though they were." In other words, have the mind in end. Who are you, as if you already have your desire. Why? Because like I said, in the spiritual realm, There is no difference. There is no difference. There is TIND between what is imagined and what is real. There is no separation between beginning and end. It is all now. And so we live in an observatory world where the moment you place your focus on something, all the particles necessary for that desire to exist begin together. They align with your focus. Just as water molecules come together and solidify to form ice, what was once scattered becomes ordered. What was fluid becomes formed. Remember, we're made in the image of God. Sound familiar? But when God created what we're living in right now, right? Without all the bad stuff. How the world was created. So your focused intention is the catalyst that calls the invisible into the visible. So let's now look at the principles of prayer from the TIND perspective. There is no difference. So first and foremost, give reverence. Greet your Father, greet your source with utmost reverence. Give thanks and praises to the Most High for his majesty. When you look at everything around you, you can just see the majesticness, if there is such a word that exists, for all that is. We live in an awesome world. And it's not dissimilar to arriving at a banquet that you have been invited to and honouring the host of the banquet with heartfelt and earnest respect for this invitation to the banquet where you can receive and ask for whatever you want. So give reverence to the Creator, to the Most High, Father, Source, higher intelligence, whatever name you ascribe to the divine. First, do that. The second thing is, as in the Bible, it said that God's Spirit moved upon the waters. Honor the Spirit of the Father, the Source, your helper, to guide and direct you. I cannot give a number to the amount of times I have called on Spirit to guide and direct me. You know, it could be as simple as, and I say it's simple as, I've had some moments where it absolutely felt miraculous. There's no other word I can ascribe to it, where I have asked Spirit, help me, guide me, give me this resource. And circumstances and situations have been created. And it's nothing short of serendipity. Or things ordered in such a way, my footsteps ordered to receive exactly what I want. And I'm sure that many of you can agree to that. You've experienced that. So always honor the Spirit of your Father and your source, your helper, your guide, to direct you, and follow promptly. Don't ignore that voice that says, that's not the way. Listen to that voice. And as I mentioned, begin with the end in mind. You see, again, from the TIND perspective, there's no difference between the beginning and the end. The end and the beginning are one. And so therefore the end version of you that has what you want exists now in the eternal present. So when you pray, do so with a vision of your fulfilled desire, not as a wish, but as a knowing. And you step into the now of the spiritual realm where your intended manifestation already spiritually exists. You see, imagination, and I'm quoting Einstein here, imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world. Now, another principle is imagination is the first creation, as mentioned, and all things begin in the unseen. So the spiritual realm is the blueprint. The visible world is simply its echo. So what you see in your imagination is the real substance of things hoped for. We're told in the Bible that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Your imagination is the real substance of things hoped for. And as the scripture says, call those things that not be not. Call those things that be not as though they were. In other words, speak the end result, affirm and speak into existence things that are not yet present or realize as if they already are. Now, this step that I'm going to talk about is absolutely crucial. Focus on your want and your desire. See it in your mind's eye and visualize your want as clearly as you can. I don't want you to just see it. I want you to feel it. I want you to embody it with all of your senses. Be the version of you that has it, because it's in your recognition of it that stirs it and calls it from the deep. And as you persistently focus on it, it sits upright. And so its resurrection, so to speak, from the deep has begun. Now, it's very important. If you focus on what you don't want, hear me very clearly. And this is why I always ask you to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Come close, listen to me. If you focus on what you don't want, then that is exactly what you will get. Because what you do want, you will delete from your experience. So focus on what you want. You see, the universe that we live in is governed by laws. It doesn't understand the words don't, not, and no. It says yes to everything. And you call it forth with your observation. So let me give you an example. If I were to say to you, do not think of a blue football with pink spots. You simply cannot do that because you first have to bring the image in your mind. Yes? So it's not dissimilar to the nonsensical approach of sitting in a restaurant with a menu in your hand, knowing that you want to order rice and peas, and yet you tell the waiter everything that you do not want that is on the menu and complain about it. That doesn't make sense, right? So to be clear, you must focus on what you want. Make it plain so that there is no confusion, so that God's spiritual laws can get to work on it. Your focus is everything, and the embodiment of it with feeling is key. And so the posture of prayer is thanksgiving. Why? Because gratitude affirms your belief that it is already here. Yes? When you don't believe that you have it, you're in a place of lack, and that's the vibration that you're emitting. But when you give gratitude, it means that you already have it, and now your vibration is in alignment with the gratitude. You see, the act of giving thanks energizes your request, and it opens the way for divine orchestration. Emotions. Let's talk about that. Emotions are your fuel. Your emotional energy, then, as a result of your giving thanks, propels your desire into the physical. Thanksgiving, joy, peace, and expectation are the vibrations that align you with your manifestation. Emotion, energy in motion. And for the energy to be in motion, guess what you have to do as well? What you have to also be conscious of. It's a word that begins with F. It is forgiveness. Forgiveness clears the path. Now, TIND, there is no difference, acknowledges that forgiveness is vital, not just towards others, but towards yourself. You see, forgiveness is the sword that severs those limiting beliefs. It chops them down like weeds. And without it, your manifestations are clogged by unresolved energy, disabling that which you desire to sail to you over calm waters. To use another analogy, imagine a hose that you water the garden with, and you squeeze it in the middle. The water can't get through. That representing unresolved energy. That's what the squeezing represents. So let it go. You see, the Bible says in the Lord's Prayer, forgive others that you must forgive others as you forgive yourself. Yeah. So it's to the degree that you forgive others that you will be given what you have asked for. Yeah. So you can open the hose pipe ever so slightly, or you can give it a strong squeeze. Yeah. So your level of forgiveness determines how smoothly your desire sails to you over calm waters. So forgiveness is for you. It's about releasing that negative energy, releasing energy that's going to clog up the pipe. Yeah, so that you can sail at a higher level. Your vibration is high. I hope that makes sense. Now, here's another key component to prayer. There is no time in spirit. You know, Einstein stated, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persisted illusion. You see, in the realm of spirit, the only thing that is separating you from your desire are your beliefs to the contrary. So you want a certain thing, but you've got deep-rooted, unresolved beliefs that are contrary to what you're asking on a conscious level. And so what delays manifestation is not time, but beliefs. Beliefs in unworthiness, in luck, in beliefs in separation. What is it that you've got stuck in the dark that is controlling you like a puppet and you're completely unaware of? Listen, some of y'all, you need to go to therapy. There's no shame in going to therapy. I had it to deal with wounds. It's a progress. It's a work in progress all the days of your life. So don't be afraid to go to therapy and to dig deep. Clear up those wounds, take off the plaster, pull away the scab and clean out the wound, remove the debris from inside of the wound, and then let it heal nicely. So, essentially, there are only two types of prayer: thanksgiving and forgiveness. Thanksgiving, what you claim and celebrate as already yours, and forgiveness, what you release so your vessel can receive. All other forms, petition, intercession, supplication, are simply extensions of these two spiritual postures. And lastly, what I would say about prayer is stay on the track. Stay on track. Do not derail your own progress with fear, doubt, or contradictory thoughts. or feelings. Stay in faith. Stay on the track. Stay on the same rail track. Focus on what you want. Embody it with emotion. Be the end version that has what you desire. This is key. TIND, there is no difference, invites you to trust and to surrender. Keep your hands off the how. That's not up to you. And just rest in the peace that surpasses all understanding, that it will come to you in perfect timing, in alignment with those beliefs that you have to deal with. So let's have a look at the Lord's Prayer, for example. Right, let's break it down. So many of you, I'm sure you know the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven. What is that actually doing? Number one, it's acknowledgement of the oneness, the divine. Because heaven is not a place, it's a vibration. It's a spiritual realm. The second part, hallowed be thy name. Reverence for the divine presence within and around you. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What it's saying is, let what exists in spirit, heaven, manifest in form, earth. You are the vessel. You are the vessel. The next part of the prayer, give us this day our daily bread. This is a focus on the provision already present. Daily bread is both literal and it's symbolic. And it's symbolic of your needs, your purpose, your clarity. And then forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I touched on that. A reminder that manifestation is proportional to your capacity to forgive. It's not transactional, it's vibrational. And then, lead us not into temptation. Let us not be led astray by thoughts that oppose what we are manifesting. Stay aligned. Deliver us from evil. May we be kept from derailing into fear, self-doubt, or sabotage. That's what that means. And then towards the ending of the prayer, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. What is this saying? It's saying, well, this is a return to recognition. All that is good, eternal, and glorious originates and remains in the spiritual realm. And then forever and ever. It's already yours. It's already ours. The power is spiritual, eternal, and unchanging. It still is, still was, and still will be. And then we seal the prayer with amen. So be it. Which is essentially you're saying, I believe in the truth of this prayer and that God will answer me. So let's just reflect. You breathe life into what you're focused on. So speak life, speak truth, speak from the end. Visualize what you want. Say only what you want. Pray with certainty, not fear.